looking at ahead of what Creativeverse can be, ultimately it's a renaissance for creatives to be able to be business owners. Yeah. I think that's ultimately what the goal is and what it will be and continue to be. And people will see it for that and flock to it.
I think where things are going in the future is learn what you're scared and afraid to death to learn. It's a better time now to become an entrepreneur than any other time ever.
Yes.
Because you have so many tools. If we don't let ourselves get in the way, failure exists in what we think is going to happen. And if we just depend and work on what we can do right now, then that future is going to take care of itself. That was our second year.
Yes.
First year we did bring Chris Doe in to pretty much talk about the creative side of what I wanted to do, right? The vision that I had. The second year, you always learn your lessons from your first one. So what I found out in my first event was that we had a lot of creativity, but not a lot of business acumen. That's one thing that really needed to be brought in front of the creative community.
I'm excited to see where Mr. Elton has evolved this. This is his sophomore event production. And so I've already seen multiple things that he's done better. And so I love seeing how he's serving his community. And I want to do everything I can to support it. So I'm here for that reason.
Well, I think it's a big time for creativity. What is the customer trying to do? If they could wave a magic wand, what do they wish they could achieve? And then how can we help them get that result without just using time?
Just keep learning, keep exploring, stay curious. Curiosity and empathy as a designer. Empathy meaning that you know who you're designing for and you consider them every step of the way.
I like to be in environments where there are creative and interesting people, and there are a lot of those type people here. You learn from those folks, and sometimes you teach folks. So I just like to be in that environment.
And we have a lot of amazing, great speakers, amazing podcasters like yourself, amazing media room, you and John, and just a lot of amazing going on. But for me, the main thing is the person-to-person connection, right? The connections that we are making in order to grow business.
Last year was amazing.
Yes.
For up-and-coming creatives, just listen and absorb the information. Take notes. When it's time to meet and greet, do the meeting and greeting, but when it's time to learn, be like a sponge. We all know things, right? But if we're too busy talking or focusing on what we do know, then we miss the golden nuggets on things that we don't know, things that may make our lives easier, right?
You want to go first? Please. I'm just really excited to get to see Chris Doe speak. He's got a great mind and lots of good stuff to say. So that one, and then all of the other speakers that I had not been familiar with up until this point. Like, we just came out of Sarah Wilder's talk, and that was so good. So really just all of everything that is available that I don't know what it is yet, sponging that up and really just getting as much out of it as I can.
I am sponsored, right, by one of the speakers to come here as a high school student and just look around, listen to the conferences, and generally just learn and gain experience and more skills, right? It's sort of an attempt to reach out and, I guess, educate the youth. And I'm glad to be a part of it.
I want to jump in front of college, jump in front of high school. If you start when everybody else start, then you're competing with everybody. But if you start before, then you can jump ahead and get the experience that you need. Me talking to Chris Doe, a person like me talking to Daniel Priestley over in the UK that has 20 profitable business. That isn't real to somebody who grew up like me. But by me doing it, they can see that, hey, I can achieve that too.
right, we are here and back again with a creative conversation. This is Faith and Flow with Creativeverse. I am one of your moderators for tonight. I'm Kimberly McGee, and I'm so excited to be here. We're going to have an amazing conversation, and I am really co-hosting with the one, the only.
Houston Vines.
Okay.
Had that look like you were trying to figure my name out.
No, I know your name.
I was just
Houston
gonna-
Vine.
Yep, Houston Vines.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here having a great time with you. We've talked before.
Yes, we have.
And we've got a great panel. We're gonna
We
have
do.
a interesting night, interesting conversation.
Interesting conversation, to say the least. And we are here in Raleigh, North Carolina at New Restoration Outreach Christian Center at 6904 Pool Road in Raleigh. And we're here at a church, and we're going to ask the reason why we're here. And the only person that can answer that question is Elton Benjamin.
Thank you. The reason we're here is Faith and Flow. It's Faith and Flow. We usually have a conference every year called Creativeverse.
Okay.
And we cover the corporate, we cover the small business, we cover so many of the different things. But a lot of people say, "Hey, Elton, we want to cover the faith-based sector because it's way different from corporate. It's way different from small business. A little bit same. Got to keep lights on, so it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know my pastor's smiling at that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to gather people that I trust, people that I know that's been in the industry, on both ends, to kind of
Okay.
give the information from creatives to pastors. Yeah.
Well, what I would like to do is just so those who don't know about your background and really the vast experience you have, I just want to just throw some information out there to the masses.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about Benjamin. Let's talk about the Benjamins.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
I like that.
Let's talk about the Benjamin. All right. This time we get to talk about him in his face and not behind his back.
There you go. There you go.
Oh,
That works.
wow.
That works.
So Elton Benjamin is a seasoned creative professional for over 25 years, national and international experience, graphic design, creative director in the United States faith-based organizations. One thing I have to say about your aesthetics, it is absolutely eclectic. Like when I think that Elton has an aesthetics, he switches it up on you.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Like he just doesn't have which I think is really a great way of you always staying on top of your game. So, I just love your aesthetics. I just watch, it's like watching a masterpiece, like an artist at really creating. So that's one thing I love about it. You are the founder of the Creativeverse, and you really like to focus on teaching business strategies, creating and fostering strong creative culture. And you're doing that through Creativeverse, connecting global creatives, collaborators with industry leaders, which you've done. You've brought in some of the top game players to Creativeverse, outstanding, hands down. And we're going to get to one of them today who's sitting with us.
All right.
Right. And then now you're into this space called Creative Ant, which is this educational community driving faith flow initiatives, specializing in building impactful brands and advocating for creative communities. And dare I say, you are really a hub, which really, you don't really advocate about this, but I really feel like you really strongly like to bring people of color to the forefront so that they can be seen, and not only seen, but heard. So
That's correct.
She done preached up here. Go ahead on now. I mean, but I totally understand what she's saying. You are very good at bringing people together. And that's one thing that she's really pushing.
right.
You like bringing people together and letting them understand the creative side of themselves and how they can make a living out of that. And so I know that was one of the reasons why you brought us all together.
That's right.
And the church, religion, faith, and bringing creativity together is something a lot of people don't understand how that can work and how it can grow your church,
Absolutely.
at the exact same time, because you want to be seen. So I know that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I know that's where we're headed.
Okay.
Absolutely. So let's talk about our panel tonight. So this is just an amazing group of creatives. And this is the thing about pastors. Pastors are the first creators because Christ is and God is the creator of all things, right?
Right.
So when we have our pastors, it's not easy getting up here and ministering to the masses. They got to be creative.
I had to ask the pastor
They got to
about that.
feed everybody in different ways, talk to people in different ways. I don't know, I don't know if they're artists, pastors, like God bless y'all for everything. Fathers,
Yeah,
brothers.
this is true. This
You
is
have
true.
to be everything. So let's start to our left. Well, both of them actually to our left. But let's start with the pastor of this house, Dr. Ellis, is a former financial service manager, holds a master in biblical studies, doctorate in theology at North Carolina College of Theology. Originally from Jacksonville, Florida. My sister lives there. It's a beautiful place. He accepts Christ. You accepted Christ early in your faith, and you also went to the Philippian Community Church where you served for 13 years in prison ministry, which okay, you and I have to talk about that. Sharing redemption with inmates, which is close and dear to my heart because I've got some prisoners in my family.
Wow.
Okay, so as
Family business in this.
oh, it's already out.
It's already out there. Go ahead. I
It's
got
no
you.
secret. That's a testimony within itself.
There you go.
So,
There you go.
as a clergy leader, Dr. Ellis leverages the media to bridge your faith and communication in modern ministry. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And we can tell by your setup, you do believe in media.
Yes, he does.
Praise God.
I've
for
got to
that.
say that
Go ahead, you say.
when I walked in, I was smiling because I was like, oh,
Oh, the screen says it all, doesn't
I
that? Does
said,
it not?
oh, but the lights, your media setup in the back, you really take it serious. I know this. I'm gonna have to come to church now. I'm gonna have to come and just visit to hear the quality.
We're gonna
sound.
put you to work. We're gonna put you to work.
No worries, no worries. And that's what we come to church for. We got to, do some work. But your setup is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it.
Awesome. And to my right, well, actually, depending on where you're looking from, but to my right, we have one of Elton's who has brought her in to Creativeverse, one of the best experts, and she's a female, girl power, which I absolutely love. And she is beast when it comes to talking about design. This is Fatima Burke. She is a branding specialist, product designer, front-end web developer from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, award-winning creative. You also help businesses enhance their visibility. Let's crash it.
Visibility. I got you. You good. We know what you were trying to say.
Okay,
You good.
visibility.
Don't worry about it.
I can't say that word, visibility. Through branding and design strategy. Currently, you work with productive designers, and you are one of the panelists in our Faith and Flow event, which is actually kicking off tomorrow, which is going to be amazing. We'll talk about that as well. And you run a digital and visual group with over 2,500 creative worldwide. So, Fatima, I've seen your work. I know you beast, you bad girl. So thank you for being here.
Right there.
That's a
Clap
boy.
right there.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent.
And she has a confidence. It's just like so I like that about Fatima. Like, it's really, really refreshing to see a woman stand in her truths, like stand in her talent, her gift, know she talented, know she give, not be ashamed of it. And just like I'm here. This is what I do, and you're so bold with it. So thank you for being that example to young women coming forward in the creative verse world.
And she can deal with Elton Benjamin.
And, oh yeah,
Which is a job in itself.
yeah.
See-
Outside
see,
of his
there-
wife, praise God.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay, we
There
keep
you
going.
go.
My bad.
He'll get two. See?
My
See?
bad.
Your own folks.
And we also have this. Now, this gentleman I've known when I was about 89 pounds. Since I moved to North Carolina in 1986, he was one of the first young men that I've met. He's always been top notch. What you see is what you get. I am so proud to call him not only a bishop, but call him a friend.
Right. Oh, wow.
So Bishop Patrick Dewberry, I cannot say more about this man of God, this awesome human being, originally from Washington, D.C., which, hey, shout out to the D.C.
All right.
was introduced to his faith really early in his life after personal challenges. He moved to North Carolina, went into ministry, partnering with his wife, who is an absolute amazing creator.
Into that.
Is she not an amazing creator? She is like,
Yes, she is.
come on now.
Yes, she is.
She bad. She
That's all
like his wife, yeah. So and First Lady Dewberry and Bishop now leads New Revelation Church in Raleigh with a national reach through his innovation, e-camps, and community focus. And one thing I would like to say about Bishop Dewberry and his wife, they are straight shooters. They are really creative in how they communicate to the masses online, and they do not fluff the word.
Okay.
They give it to you. It's practical, it's right in your face, and I just so love it. So thank you for
Excellent.
being here.
To God be the glory. I'm honored to be here on today and to be here with these panelists. I believe that God is about to do something creative.
All right. All right.
All right. And last but not least, this powerhouse general anti-gravity stand out. My first encounter with Michael before I read his bio. So for those who don't know, I managed the Panay Mom conference, and Michael had did a song that moved the Panay truth to the point they created a whole piece around the song. Like
Excellent.
it was outstanding. It's still one of like a crowd's favorite. It's still one of Panay's favorite. It still rocks the house. So we're so excited to have Michael George Jr. here. He's an innovative music talent. He really is. Blended work, heavy metal, funk, you name it. He is definitely not your traditional church music, but he will bring in the spirit of the gospel of the
Come on
Jesus
now.
Christ, and he will lay your people out. Like it is amazing. So with his unique high energy style, you have really redefined musical boundaries and with a new generation and a new flavor and fire. And so with your, he's multiple instrumental singer, songwriter, producer, speaker, and you do bring a really fresh way of pushing your creative limits. I've seen it. And I love your collaboration with different artists and how you've been able to like use your music even in the art form of like mime and dance. So we are so excited to have you here, Michael.
Thank you, Jesus.
I'm honored to be here. I'm glad that Reverend Benjamin, not Robert, asked my crazy tail to be here. Exactly. Funny thing, known fact that I tell anybody about the song "You're So Good." When I wrote that song about 14, 15 years ago, I was actually homeless, living here in my brother's truck, and trying to figure out relocating here 16 years ago, not knowing what to do, and I was just like, God, I mean, how is it that I'm still able to talk about your goodness in the midst of darkness? And so the fact that I can still write that song and still to this day, it's still blessing people.
It's still blessing people.
And even with Panay, the first time I saw them minister in mime to that song, I was standing at first and then it broke me to tears, the entire song. I was like, I can't even watch because to think that over 300 kids or young people are miming and worshiping and turning the room out to a song that I barely even was believing in. But I had a little bit of heaven in my eyes to still write about his goodness. So I'm just thankful. Yeah.
And they're still on their top 10. Like that song is on Panay's. And I know because I'm the one that manages their conferences and concerts. Like when we do the concerts and we do like what song we want to bring back, that is still on the top 10 of bringing it back. And it still moves crowds. Like
That's all
it still
right.
rocks out.
Well, you know what? That's the end of the show right there, y'all. We have a great time. We've just had church.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
That's what it's about.
Right.
That's why Faith and Flow exists. To find creative people and to find out how those things work.
Right.
Because usually people just look to hear it from the pulpit. But it's so many times before the pulpit that sets the ushers in the spirit with people.
Right.
you know, from praise worship or to what they see on the screen to maybe they'll see something out in the public that touches their heart to say, okay, I want to appreciation that they need to see what these people doing. I see this pictures, I see these videos. It's understanding. I hear the music. Somebody's creating that leadership, or to what they see on the screen to maybe they'll see something out in the public that touches their heart to say, okay, I want appreciation that they need to see what these people doing. I see this pictures, I see these videos. It's understanding. I hear the music. Somebody's creating that leadership and creators. And sometimes that's a
Right.
so that's what we're that's what we're
That's what this is all about.
tonight. Yeah.
Something that you just said that I found really interesting, and I've known this for a long time since I've known you. Sometimes that flyer or that ad or that website that is created is what is drawing someone to come to a church service. And some people don't understand that or believe that. I've seen that where I've seen a flyer sitting somewhere and I was like, that might be a pretty good service.
right.
But someone had to take time to put that together to draw your attention. So to me, that's a gift.
That's a gift.
You know, that's a gift. I've seen that. You know, so you having this conversation tonight, how the two can work together, I think is extremely important.
I've seen Fatima do a website. I think it was in, I don't even, Dallas or somewhere else. But when I seen the website, it felt like a big hug.
Yeah.
I felt like I was at the church, and
Awesome.
But that's what
you
you
know,
want.
Yeah.
Right.
and that's what that talent that
Yeah.
you know, preachers are they give the word, but it's that real preacher that has that talent
Right.
and knows how to really speak to that person's situation.
Right.
And that's how creators speak to people's situation, emotional, how they feel, walk in life, and all those things come together to bring people in.
Gotcha.
So when you're talking about faith and flow for the masses of creating, one of the things I think, for not to speak for you, but one of the things I think you really want to make sure is that the church is really being represented in a way that is not just excellence, but understand that what they do, the aesthetics, does have a place in drawing people in.
Oh yes, it's definitely a science. And I've worked in corporate. I worked in corporate very, very young. It was my first job working at an advertising agency. And so I saw and I grew and I observed all these things that was going on in corporate. I observed all the things that was going on in entertainment, higher level entertainment. And I just wanted to come down and my favorite thing is bring Main Street to mainstream, right? So I saw what really made me get into the faith-based sector and helping them out. I saw a lot of them was trying and trying, but they couldn't break that ceiling because they didn't understand the science of it. It's more than just throwing out something and throwing it to the wall and hoping it sticks. There's a science to knowing where to place things, along with the science we was talking about this afternoon, with the science of knowing where to place what colors do you use, what color theory do you use, what do you need the eye to read first, how does people read things, and if people don't understand, they'll just put in things and say, hey, that's fine.
Right.
Or you'll have somebody on the flyer with their whole bottom cut off and it's a hard line,
Right.
and they're like,
Right.
that's good, Pastor.
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. And then
You and your pastor need to hire somebody.
right. Because sometimes I've seen people have a flyer put together and they may get 1,000 of them printed and they put them out and then they have 10 people show up and they're trying to figure out why. And sometimes that ad turns someone off, you know, where they weren't interested in coming because it wasn't pulling them in. So like you said, and I've seen where the time and the date was at the bottom, about this big, but the pastor's picture was huge on it, but it didn't give them any information about where the
Right.
church service was. You know,
Or,
so-
and I'll let Fatima speak on this, on this, elaborate on this. But you'll have I've seen people pay $1,000 for somebody to come in out of town. You're expecting all these people to come in and see this artist that you've paid this money for, but on the flyer, your pastor is this big and the person is the size of a dime. We know you love your pastor.
Right.
Those people that you're trying to get in here don't know nothing about your pastor. They know and gravitating to the person that you paid $10,000 for that you hope can help the people that can help pay them back.
Right.
And then there's still some benefit for the house of God to keep on winning and doing things for people that they can't do.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fatima, then Michael. I'd love for you to chime in from an artist standpoint. Yeah.
I think if we look at design as a tool that needs to do a job and perform, a flyer, for example, it has a job to do, has a goal. It's not simply just to promote, or rather, it has, like, if you want ticket sales, someone mentioned text being too small. Let's just say your flyer is targeting a senior community. You would want to make the text larger. So there are just, if you understand the job to be done with the tool that you need to design, that you need to put forward. Designers tend to understand that, but I think the people who hire designers, they don't always, understand those best practices. So if you look at design as it's not just an accessory, or an aesthetic, but it has a job to perform and a work, to be done, then you would look at design differently. And I think that we would look at design as an evangelistic tool, as opposed to just simply, promotion, marketing, but it's a tool to help, send messages out to the world and reach further than we could. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I guess from an artist perspective, I see two sides of the coin. As far as you got major artists like Elton said, you spending thousands of dollars to bring the who's who in for a concert or whatever, and you got the pastor magnified on the graphic, and then you have the artist very minute, and then you're upset because either ticket sales don't go as well, or you got a bunch of folks, instead of getting them in advance, they being late and last minute, and then it's 2 or 3 gathered in his name, literally. But so I see it from that angle where it has to be everything. The placement has to be effective and proper. And then I said it's two sides because even down to, let's hypothetically say, an artist that the world or the masses don't know yet, but you as the pastor or the church or ministry believe in that artist. No different from if you have a new entree at a restaurant, right? And the commercial or the graphic, whatever it is giving you everything to make you feel like, I think I want to try that. Like,
That's really
yes,
good.
like
yes.
That's good.
I've never had a pickle sandwich before, and I don't like pickles, but I think I want to try
I want
that.
to try that.
And so I think from that angle too, it has to be the proper placement to where you are advertising to sell. And I guess that becomes a gray area in church and religious settings. You're like, we're not here to sell nothing. We just want to sell Jesus. That sounds good. But the people in the seats are also still consumers.
Right.
They're believers, but also consumers.
That's good.
So at some point, you have to be able to serve something to draw their attention. Not even just new faces, but even those that are still here.
Right.
And so it's like, if everything is in the right place, like even down to my songs, I knew before my music came out, I needed something that would pop visually for people to even understand or be able to be interested in what it is I have. You've never heard me before. So why is it, if you've never heard me, it's not just word of mouth, like, hey, you should come hear me sing. Well, I just heard somebody sing at the juke joint. And they was, whatever. So I want to make sure that even if I'm talking to a graphic designer or a web developer, hey, I want to make sure this pops effectively to make them want to hear. If I'm telling the testimony, come see a man.
Right.
On from Galilee, how do I deliver that effectively? And so I think it has to work hand in hand to where everything is properly placed.
Gotcha.
Properly placed for purpose.
And the time. If you see that sandwich at 3:00, it's going to affect you differently than when you see it at 11 o'clock at night.
What you say?
Yeah.
You see that? That's why they do all of, and everybody knows this. At 11 o'clock at night, you have no business eating a pizza. But when that pizza comes up, it's extra nice. And because it's 11 o'clock and you know that they have created the anticipation of that you can't get it right when you want to get it, like a sale, but they give you the date when that sale gonna be,
and you look at that piece at night, and you be like, okay, I'm getting that tomorrow for lunch. I'm getting it tomorrow before lunch.
Right.
And when they do the commercial, tell me the TV don't get louder.
Oh yeah.
It gets loud. Yeah, that is
The
true.
volume go up
That
like
is true.
2 octaves, right? So not only the place that you need to place those things at, the timing.
Right.
The timing is so important. It's important with algorithms. It's important where even if a lot of people have foregone this, but even if you have actual printed flyers or places like that, you got to think, what time of the month is it? What are you selling? What are those people hang out at?
Right.
And all those things.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. I like to shift. Oh, go ahead,
I
Mike.
was gonna say, because to piggyback off of that, how often, hypothetical question, but literal, how often have you ordered a sandwich from McDonald's and it looked just like
Never.
how it would?
Never.
But something, the way you looked at it, you was like,
And you know
I want that.
And you know you're not gonna get it the way
And
it
you
looks.
know you're not gonna get it there.
Just in case, but keep going back.
Because you're hopeful.
Just in
And
case
it still goes back to faith.
where
Why
I
we
saw it on
over-
TV.
And it's all hopeful. And it's why we still come back to church every Sunday, this and that.
Faith.
Because of the faith and hope
Yeah.
that we believe we're gonna get the product that we saw.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you got a Checkers or a Cookout or something, that's the worst enemy of your fasting. If you're fasting to 2 o'clock, you will drive by 11:40, and the smell from that burger joint will grab you and say, "You can go ahead. You
in the
ain't got
parking lot and wait for your fast to be over.
to drive."
Not that I know that,
12 o'clock.
Yeah.
That like you know it. Now.
I know, right? Let me, talking about these are really creative ways. I mean, you guys just dropped some knowledge, and technique and ideas and strategy all in one little session right here, because we're in that space and you talk about the algorithms, and we know now that does play a part in how even churches are now starting to maybe get the algorithm in terms of the concept, but they really don't know what algorithm is. So let's talk about pre-pandemic and post-pandemic church, because I think for the pastors, you all are boots on the ground. You see the finances, you see the people, there's an expectation. So let's talk about, how has creativity in the church changed from your perspective from pre-pandemic to now post-pandemic?
And whoever wants to go first. God bless you. What's amazing to me about post-pandemic and pre-pandemic is that there was a time we just believed people were going to show up to church. Grandmother had told you that if you didn't come to church, you were going to hell.
Right. Right.
Well, grandma's myth has been busted.
Right.
And so now that we are past the pandemic, we are now desiring for people to come back who have found another door to walk through. Some desire to have religion at home, and some believe that it doesn't take all of that.
Right.
But we are striving to open the churches up to the new communities who did not understand church in the way that they do now, finding out that God can be anywhere in the vehicle with them, that they can have ministry all by themselves, that they can worship in different places. And honestly, I have to give credit to God and to my wife. I've been taught over the last 4 years that we have to have ministry that is not monumental, but must be a movement. The ministry has to move, the chairs have to change, the look has to change. Bishop and I were just talking about our attire. There used to be the button-down shirt with the tie and the 6 pieces to go with it, and pray that there was one more. But now here we are with no socks on and high waters, and we're thanking God for people showing up in the ministry. So I'm excited about what God is doing with that, but I believe that it starts from the head. And the Bible says that the oil ran down Aaron's beard. When we are creative enough to change, so is the congregation. One of the ways that we have changed is we went with the e-campus that you heard Sister Kimberly speak about. That e-campus then allowed a early morning service for those who are getting ready, who used to go to the 11 o'clock service. My wife, who studied a little bit under Brother Elton, has become a creative. Shout out to IL Creations.
Come on now. Come on.
Hey man, I'm going home at some point in time and need to be able to get in.
There you go. There you
And
go.
I'm excited about what she showed me. She watched Elton for 15 years as the work was being done. She looked at the placement. And what I call creativeness is the difference between good feet and defeat. Good feet will take the creative source everywhere. Defeat will not let it leave where it is. And so I found out that not only flyers, not only websites, not only word of mouth, but this one creative thing, the thing that I knew nothing about, a QR code changes everything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
place it on the screen, you put it on the seat, you even put it on a bumper sticker if you can. And people who believe that their phone and their hand have become one, how can two walk together? Y'all ain't talking back to me unless they agree.
I need to
And
keep
everywhere they go, the QR code shows them the initiative because the QR code is a mess until you look deeper into it and see the creativeness.
That's
like
good.
it. I like it. I like it.
Bishop.
He said it all. I'm good.
I get it. I
But
get it.
pre COVID, as you said earlier, the people we took it for granted.
Mm.
They came. We had 2 services, packed them out. We're looking at having a 3rd service. But then post pandemic, now I'm talking to empty chairs.
Mm.
And I had to believe that I'm talking to people through lenses who were not sitting in the seats. And then eventually the seats were filled. One of the things that I believe that the problem with some of the leaders, the foundation, we took people for granted and we didn't input foundation into people. I didn't miss a beat in anything, even though there was no seats not being filled. But as far as our finances, we went to another level with nobody here.
Wow.
Praise God.
And we went from 2 services down to 1 service when everybody came back. And we never missed a beat because we taught foundational truth. And I think that a lot of pastors missed the beat because they didn't teach foundation when they had a chance.
That's good.
Gotcha.
That's good.
I'm going to stop right there.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I would like to say my pastor, M. Lamont Cooper, Senior. He could have been here, but he wasn't been able to because of illness. But when we first, that's not our testimony, kind of. But so what happened was everybody that was called a graphic designer had to, if you weren't already in this space for doing AV, you had to pivot and become that video person, that streaming person.
Right.
And when I tell you the things that we had to go through, only the people that really know what designers had to go through is the senior pastor. Because that first week, when they said people can't go in church anymore,
Tumultuous.
though I've been on my pastor for 19 years. And that week, we ain't speak to each other. After that Sunday for a week, and because he didn't know, I didn't know either because I'm pivoting. But I know we have to be out there for the people, right? So what I had to do was record. We went to his house and we started recording services at the house. After you record hour-long service at the house, you have to go home. Then hope the service is clean enough that you can run it. But you still have to watch the service all over again. And if it's not right, you got to edit it.
Right. Right.
Now you got to render it. There was no quick renderings then, right? Render it. Then you had to compress it.
And then upload.
And then you had to upload it.
Right.
But thinking about, you got 1,200, you used to 2 people walking out that door, but now you got 12 million people trying to walk out that door. And so whatever's trying to get out that door ain't going to get on the time that you schedule it to get off. So you sitting there on pins and needles from 1 to 4 o'clock in the morning, hoping that when they finish rendering, it shoots streaming to where you're going to stream it to. And if it's supposed to stream at 11 o'clock, you don't stress like you never stressed before until that 12 o'clock hits and you see it pop up and you're like,
Right.
then you hoping it doesn't drop.
Yeah.
Right? So we supposed to came on at 12. We didn't get on till 2 o'clock. That's because everybody was trying to bottleneck the information highway, right?
Right.
So that's what we had to do. And like you said, the people that preach sound doctrine, the people that had a focus, the people that really had something to say to people, it was like the big tree shaking elimination. You either gonna stay here with us or go where you need to go.
Right.
And maybe that was God's way of
Shaking things up.
Hey,
Right.
right?
Right.
But on the technical end of it, that's what we need. That's what we've been through. Other side might not understand it, but that's what we've been through. So when we hear people now saying, "Hey, maybe we should cut the stream.
Right.
Maybe we should not do this. Maybe we should just let all the people come back in." Don't. I hate to say it this way, but don't be that ignorant.
Right.
Because you've seen what worked, right?
Right.
And to somebody that's thinking about cutting that, if you're gonna get all the people back in, that's cool. But don't cut out the people. They're probably still never ever gonna come in here.
Right.
But you still can reach them the same way that you reach the whole congregation when they won't hear.
Right. This is true.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that about some people wanting to. It's almost like the corporate world. They like, no, y'all get y'all behinds back into the building. We don't want you doing remotely anymore.
Right.
But I want to point this to the pastors. Two questions really. One is, do you feel like, what would you say to a pastor who is resisting going social media, like full blown social media, understanding like they need to be online? Like, what would you say to those pastors?
I just had this conversation with a pastor in Virginia 2 weeks ago. I said to him, why don't you start streaming? You're missing out on people around the world. And he said, I don't feel led to do that. And I said to him, I said, are you in the soul winning business or are you in the selfish business? If you're in the soul winning business, this is an avenue for you to reach people around the world, not just your local people in the community.
Right.
Because his church was not growing. And he's trying to get his church to grow. And I'm saying to him, you're stuck in the past.
Right.
You're going to have to expand yourself. So if you're in the soul winning business, that's what I had to put into his face. Soul winning. Let that camera get on your face. Let the people see you around the world. You can win souls in Belgium. And I'm in 11 different countries. But people watch you who would never set foot in this building.
That's right.
It's about the gospel getting out, not about you holding the gospel hostage.
Well said, Bishop. What I learned during this period of time is that the best evangelist is the one that's not in front of me, but the one that's running away from me. I noticed that on the camera, I'm running into not only people that I've known who didn't know that the gospel was coming from us, but I'm noticing that they're beginning to be able to equate that if God can do it for him, he can do it for me too.
True.
One of the biggest blessings was to learn how to preach without hearing the word amen. Because there is something that the anointing of a pew with no one in can do. No one's telling you preach, pastor. No one is telling you that's a great word. You better have studied and know that God was pleased. And so we learned during that period of time to be ensuring that we're pleasing God and that the word will go out and be an evangelistic tool because the lens is right.
Right. Sounds good.
So before we take a quick break, I want to end with this really quick question to the pastors. Do you think that churches are becoming too dependent on the digital platform?
Yes. I want to say no a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly yes.
Okay.
Because we realize our audience, our church have grown because of the digital. So yes, we do rely on the digital. I know I have.
Right.
And I'm old school.
Mm-hmm.
And I have learned how to expand myself because of the creativity of others. So yes, I have depended on the digital.
So you're saying in a sense, you just have to learn how to balance.
Exactly.
You have to balance still winning souls through media, but still going out and helping in the community.
Exactly.
So the people that are in your community can come, but you're also sharing it with other people that you'll never meet. And that helps your church grow even more.
And I've seen people who have seen and heard what we're doing in the community who live in another country sow money into our community work.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Bishop?
I'm in total agreement with that. The way that I view it is that it is a resource, and God is still the source. And the resource that is used for the gospel to go all over the diaspora, to change and rearrange the lives of people, but still yet when they're visiting the area, that they may show up at your door. That those who are wanting to lead, I found out, now please don't mark me absent for saying this. I found out that there are more givers that don't go to church than those who do, because they have learned that giving is a principle. And some people just refuse to sit back put in the church. Some have gone through church hurt. Some can't believe that the Lord would allow COVID. Some lost family members during that period of time, and they were not rooted. And so their seeds began to blow on stony ground and some in thorny ground. And they are willing to watch from home, but not willing to call the church house a home.
But digital has also hurt some churches and pastors, whereas
What
some
way?
people don't need to be on digital streaming, period. But because it's a platform, that's their way of being on television, so to speak.
And then they become on TikTok, and then everybody's making a mockery of them. Definitely. But they do. Yeah.
All right.
I think one of the things I want to close out before we take a quick break is I love what you said about understanding that there's people who see your ministry from afar, but they may not be, but using the works that you all do as a platform for them to understand, to undergird the purpose. One of the things I definitely want to share in Faith and Flow, which when I come in and manage or work with the church, I never understand why the church is not open Monday through Friday. I still don't get that. I don't understand it because I just don't understand it. Like, to me, the church should be open. And I grew up north, and my mother was Catholic, so the Catholic church is always open. They're always open. You can go up to the Catholic church, you can get food, you can get prayer, you can get anything every day. You can even go in there, and there's areas in the Catholic church you can go sleep if you are homeless. So for me, I never understood that. So for those who are like just depending on the platform and you're just using digital, I would say open your church for undergirding the community. Let people see what you're doing Monday through Friday so that people can really be a part of the vision on Sunday.
All right.
That's a part, we can go to break, but that's a part of why we're here today.
Right.
What you just explained is different levels to that.
Yeah.
You made a distinction clear. What kind of church did you say it was?
Catholic church.
Okay. Catholic church got funding for days.
Yes.
Our churches, we have to beg for funding. You see, and that when people are there all day, that becomes their livelihood. That becomes their 24/7. So whatever they cover at home, who's ever in there, that needs to be covered by some kind of funding.
Yeah.
If a person is working in church every day, that has to be covered by some kind of funding. And so our faith has to help the flow.
There you go. There you go.
Making that thing possible. What you say?
I like it.
Because everybody say, "Oh, the church is taking money, this, and that." But okay, but you standing outside looking in, how much have you invested into the place that you're complaining about?
Come on now.
That's good.
Right?
And that's why we want to thank you, Bishop Ellis, for allowing us to be here.
Yes.
Non-Sunday to do just this, have this really strict and very candid conversation. So we'll be back. We're taking a break and we'll see you soon. Keep letting it flow. From a creative standpoint, musicians included, as creators, what do you wish pastors really understood about your work, especially when it comes to...
I know the answer to that.
They say that there's nothing in the budget or there is a very thin budget.
I guess speaking even to what Bishop said about foundation, whether it be the worship department, the church, all those things. I work with a corporate cover band as well, and they always say, listen, I'd rather you spend big now rather than trying to spend small and suffer consistently or later.
Right.
Whoever you have in place weren't given the proper tools or resources to do it. Even down to something as little as, okay, you might not have the greatest singers in the world, but why not bring someone in to help train them, right? To help teach them, develop them in order to get to the point that you want your church to get to. Right.
looking at ahead of what Creativeverse can be, ultimately it's a renaissance for creatives. Be able to be business owners.
That was our second year.
Yes.
First year we did bring Chris Do in to pretty much talk about the creative side of what I wanted to do, right? The vision that I had. The second year, you always learn your lessons from your first one. So what I found out in my first event was that we had a lot of creativity, but not a lot of business acumen. That's one thing that really needed to be brought in front of the creative community.
I'm excited to see where Mr. Elton has evolved this. This is his sophomore event production. And so I've already seen multiple things that he's done better. And so I love seeing how he's serving his community. And I want to do everything I can to support it. So I'm here for that reason.
Well, I think it's a big time for creativity. What is the customer trying to do? If they could wave a magic wand, what do they wish they could achieve? And then how can we help them get that result without just using time?
Just keep learning, keep exploring, stay curious. Curiosity and empathy as a designer. Empathy meaning that you know who you're designing for and you consider them every step of the way.
I like to be in environments where there are creative and interesting people, and there are a lot of those type people here. You learn from those folks, and sometimes you teach folks. So I just like to be in that environment.
And we have a lot of amazing, great speakers, amazing podcasters like yourself, amazing media room, you and John, and he just a lot of amazing going on. But for me, the main thing is the person-to-person connection, right? The connections that we are making in order to grow business.
We have brand standards here at Red Hat, right? But sometimes we gotta remix the brand a little bit.
Last year was amazing. Yes. For up-and-coming creatives, just listen and absorb the information. Take notes. When it's time to meet and greet, do the meeting and greeting, but when it's time to learn, be like a sponge. We all know things, right? But if we're too busy talking or focusing on what we do know, then we miss the golden nuggets on things that we don't know, things that may make our lives easier, right?
You want to go first? Please. I'm just really excited that you get to see Chris Do speak. He's got a great mind and lots of good stuff to say. So that one, and then all of the other speakers that I had not been familiar with up until this point. We just came out of Sarah Wilder's talk, and that was so good. So really just all of everything that is available that I don't know what it is yet, sponging that up and really just getting as much out of it as I can.
I am sponsored, by one of the speakers to come here as a high school student and just look around, listen to the conferences, and generally just learn and gain experience and more skills, right? It's sort of an attempt to reach out and, I guess, educate the youth. And I'm glad to be a part of it.
I want to jump in front of college, jump in front of high school. If you start when everybody else start, then you're competing with everybody. But if you start before, then you can jump ahead and get the experience that you need. Me talking to Chris Do, a person like me talking to Daniel Priestley over in the UK that has 20 profitable business. That isn't real to somebody who grew up like me. But by me doing it, they can see that, hey, I can achieve that too.